A survey has found that more than 90% of African Australian students have witnessed racism in school. Students say they're often subjected to extremely offensive and derogatory language. The Ubuntu Project, which conducted the survey, says there is little understanding of the harm students with African backgrounds are experiencing. The CEO, Shanino, joins us now from Melbourne. Welcome to you. You commissioned the report. Were you shocked by its findings?
Unfortunately not. Obviously as someone of African heritage who went to public school in Victoria, I experienced some of these myself, so did my colleagues. And I've also worked as a youth worker for the past 10 years. And so these are something that we kept coming across and kept hearing about. Now, there were some things that were really shocking and we had not experienced ourselves. And that was the continued use of the N-word in textbooks and in education. And it comes up. And what students actually had an issue with was not that the word, we acknowledge the existence of the word or that's in the curriculum, but it was actually focused a lot more on the fact that there was no education, no introduction at the beginning, contextualization of what the word means, the harm of the word, that even though it's coming up in the textbooks, it's not a common word and it's not appropriate to use. And in some cases, students were forced when reading out loud by teachers to actually say the full word, which they were very uncomfortable with.
And so it's being used in textbooks. Did students tell you that they themselves had been called this word when they were responding to your survey?
No, we didn't ask that specific question, but I know it was reported today in another article related to this, that this does happen, and the commentary of slavery and being slaves is something that's been coming up even on social media with young people. And that's something, slurs that have been used against young people in schools, in our public education system.
How would a slur like that impact a student in a school environment?
It tells them that they're different, it tells them they're outsiders, it tells them they're not welcome, and then it continues. It's happening on social media. We're all well aware of it. We're well aware of that. But now it's actually following them into the schools and happening in the classrooms. And you can imagine the impact that has on you. And then everything else that's happening around with social media compounds upon that. Now, school is where students are supposed to be the safest. It's where students are supposed to be educated and nurtured. And in many cases, using myself as an example, teachers have a lasting impact on us. I still remember conversations I had with teachers, the support that they provided for me many, many years ago when I left education. And that stays with you. And so do the negatives when it doesn't go well.
And so just take us through what your study found about racism by teachers and by principals.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a spectrum of it. There's microaggressions where comments and jokes were made, things like, comments about uncles being taxi drivers from coordinators. But it goes all the way across to, where just things are being downplayed, where it seemed a lot of what we came across in our research was the initial reaction of leadership groups and teachers was to actually protect the school when students did complain. 87% of students, both males and females, reported that they did not trust their teachers to take their report serious and to actually follow up on that. We've come across many examples where students have said, don't bother telling the teachers, they're worse than some of the students. And so it plays out in many different ways. And that continues into society where you're regularly being told, you're not a part of this country, you're not welcome, you are different. And when it's happening in the classroom, it has a much deeper and lasting impact, even more severe than obviously on social media and media broadly.
What reaction have you had to your study and its findings from education authorities so far?
From education authorities, not so much. The report only came out this morning, but I'm sure there will be a follow-up. But I already know that the Ethnic Community Council of Victoria has sort of supported and endorsed some of the recommendations that we've made, and they've also stated that this lines up with a lot of the body of work they've done. I've been inundated today, and also has our social media platform and our website with community members, not just in Victoria, but across Australia, that have shared their stories, have said, this is something I lived with for so long, I haven't seen anyone speaking about it, and there are so many more stories coming up forward. But, I do want to mention there are a lot of schools that do a lot of great work, many principals that we've worked with. A great example is, for example, a mentorship program that we're currently running specifically for students of African heritage at the University High School. And that's been well supported by the school. We've had mentors coming in, working closely with students. And for some of those students, having an older person that's been through everything you're going through, including what's in our report, is just so vital and so pivotal, and has really already made a great impact on their lives.
Is there anything else that you would like to see come about as a response to this?
Yes, there are, like I said, a number of recommendations. One, and some of these recommendations were made by students themselves. Excuse me, were made by students themselves, and they included a co-development along with community members and students of African heritage for the Department of Education around training to be delivered in all schools to exactly around this kind of not just blatant racism, but unconscious biases and microaggressions, and also for a dedicated channel within the Department of Education to record, document, investigate, but also have the authority to take action on these kind of issues, as well as an increased awareness and education for parents and students around the mechanisms for complaints escalation beyond just your local school.
Noor Shanino, the CEO of the Ubuntu Project. Terrific to talk to you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kirsten.